Corrie.
William.
On God! Begin the episode! Hello everyone, I'm PapaKenn and welcome to episode 90 of Discovering Doctor Who. Today I have a very special guest with me. You may remember her from the reaction video to Listen, the episode we're going to be discussing today. My littlest sister-in-law, Corrie.
Hello.
And yes, she's going to be joining me for this review. It's going to be a little bit different than what has been in the reviews lately. We're not going to really be talking about the track of the episode or the quote of the episode. We're going to mostly be talking about our favorite parts, our least favorite parts, and I do in fact have that happened for this episode. And maybe a few other things, we'll see as it goes along. But let's get right into it, talking about our favorite parts of the episode. And if it's okay with you, I will start with mine,
Yes.
my first one.
Yes, please.
My first favorite part of this episode was the mystery of it all combined with how it tried to get into the childhood fears, like a very psychological childhood fear, playing with that, just like, what's in the dark. So like, as kids we're afraid of the dark. A lot of adults are afraid of the dark. And evidently the Doctor himself was to some extent afraid of the dark because of events that we find out at the end. And I really loved how it played with that because, especially in the beginning of the episode, it did so well at keeping that creepy factor and just like, keeping you guessing. Is like, is the Doctor just crazy? Completely plausible. I know you all love him, but it's plausible. Or is there something really there? And as he says at the beginning of the episode, if there is something there in the dark, how would we know? Like, it's apparently evolved the most, or like the best possible defense mechanism, which is the ability to hide. So, even if we kind of technically found something, which we'll be talking about later, like the thing that's under the sheet, we still don't know if that's what is hiding in the darkness, if anything at all. What are your thoughts on that?
I really liked how we opened with some are hunters, some are
Some are hunters and what is it?
something else.
I can't remember. It has to do with evolution.
Yeah, and then some are hiders. I never thought of that before, and I was like, wow. And that actually really got me thinking, like, what's out there that we haven't discovered. And it's a very broad topic, and I like that. But he really narrows it in, obviously, to what's in the dark, which is. It's very interesting thinking about that now that I'm older, because, I never believed my parents if they were like, oh, monsters aren't real. I was like, they're lying to me. But, now I'm like, no, they're not real. But seeing that, what if there is something?
Yes. Because there are things that we can't see.
Very true.
And even today there are species being found that have been hidden for centuries.
Yeah.
Millennia.
It's very interesting. I liked it a lot.
Very cool. Well, what is one of your favorite parts of this episode? She has psychic paper on her hand.
Alright. Not exactly going in chronological order.
Don't worry about it.
But one of my favorite parts is when Clara, right? Clara. When Clara, she says the same thing to the Doctor, the fear makes you stronger and stuff. Like, I love that, because when the Doctor was explaining it to the boy, I was like, oh yeah, that's really true. I wonder where he got that from. But then at the end, when she grabs his ankle, she's like, oh shit. And then she was like, oh, this is all a dream. Fear is good. And then she tells it to him. I was like, I really like that part.
I love that too. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that actually, that was one of the points that I brought up as one of my favorite parts too, was the young Doctor And the way I wrote it down was Clara's influence on the Doctor from the Doctor's own advice. And that's actually, as you watch more of the show, you'll see there's like, especially after Moffat took over, a lot of times what he'll start using is sort of like this, is it silical, or basically just like, this almost infinite loop of logic, wherein it's like something happens that causes something else to happen because of something that happened in the past as far as what we were watching. And he uses that a lot, and it does annoy some of the viewers, it annoys some of the commenters quite a bit, and it can be a bit much at times because he kind of overuses it in certain ways. But I really like the way it worked here, and like it shows, and this is just something I've seen from the comments from our reaction video, is that a lot of people say that they feel like that moment, it bothers them because Clara has too much of an impact as just a human being or just as a companion on the Doctor's life. Which is true. For me though, and tell me your thoughts on this, but in my opinion, it's I mean, she does have an impact on him, but it's like, it's one particular moment. It's like, it isn't what makes the Doctor who he is. It's just something that influenced him to be stronger or to have confidence in himself.
I see what you're saying, but I don't know, like, you make very good points, but I mean, growing up, he could have always remembered that and be like, oh, this is why I shouldn't be afraid, or I mean, this is why I should embrace fear, rather. And that could have potentially shaped him a lot. Like, I mean, not a lot, but it could have made a pretty big impact.
It's true.
I don't know. Mixed feelings. I mean, I guess because I haven't really seen any of the other Doctor Who's,
you haven't experienced any of the other companions either.
So I'm not like really attached to them. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, I think if I watched the other ones more, I would have a different point of view. But from my point of view, I don't know. I thought it was really nice.
One thing is, like, especially as you watch more of the show, that you'll definitely come to experiences, and it's definitely, I can understand why it bugs a lot of people, because Clara definitely has just sort of out of nowhere become almost like one of the most important companions ever, because and you haven't seen a lot of previous episodes, but she has major impacts on his past that like no other companion has. Like, other companions have had major impacts on his life at the time.
Okay, all right.
But like, she's been, I think, possibly the only one, or at least the only one in New Doctor Who, that has had an impact on the Doctor in his past incarnations, or as a child in his first incarnation. Yeah. So I mean, that's definitely something that I can understand it bothering a lot of people. I guess it just depends on how much it bothers the person. Like, for me, it's just got, in my perspective, when you have a show that's completely centered around space and time, the main character's past is going to get affected in some form. So the fact that all this is happening with one companion can be annoying. Yeah, I can see that. Had it been like, different companions this happened with, maybe it wouldn't be as annoying to some of the other viewers, but yeah, I don't know, it's just like, for me, I don't see it as a huge deal. Again, just because I come from that perspective of it's about space and time, this is the 12th Doctor. Yeah. It's going to happen eventually. I think that if I watched it all and if I were attached to another companion, then it would annoy me a lot. Like, and if I really hated Clara. Yeah. Clara, okay. Then it would annoy me a lot, but Cool. Yes. Thank you very much. So, and that also got one of my points out of the way. So I will refer to my my last favorite part of this episode, which was the ambiguity of the explanations of what was going on. It's like, we're given logical, reasonable explanations for everything that could be going on. Like, when Listen appeared on the chalkboard, it could have been just the Doctor because he's kind of a lot of times. He could have written that and just didn't remember. The thing on the bed underneath the blanket, it could have been another kid, Given the scenes we saw, I don't think it was. I'm pretty sure it was an alien of some form.
Yeah, it didn't...
It made weird noises and we saw a reflection.
Yeah, wasn't the reflection like kind of hideous?
Yeah, that's the impression I got. But at the same time, it's like for the characters, they didn't see it. So for all they know, it could have just been a kid.
True.
So, and then, you know, even like throughout the rest of the episode, there's that ambiguity of where everything has, you know, a potential logical explanation, like you know, the banging on the spaceship at the end. It could have been pipes. The fact that we got 3 knocks on the door intermittently leads me to believe otherwise. But still, it's ambiguous, and we never see what might have been doing that. So it could have been the pipes.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, it frustrates me a little bit just because I like the answers. But then I really do like the mystery. Like, it could be something, it could be something else. Maybe it's like something that we never even thought of. I don't know. It's very interesting. It'll only really annoy me if they never answer it. Like, if in like all Doctor Who is over and they never answer it, it'll bug me a lot.
Right. You see, and I'm not like, haven't seen any episodes past here, so I don't know if they ever do kind of answer those, or if it's just kind of like the ambiguous answers are left as the answers, which would be really frustrating. But yeah. Even though it, if they don't, it will be frustrating. It does leave a lot of room for imagination, which is always fun. Absolutely. And it's a great thing too, because it's like the show, when the show started, it's like I haven't seen the classic episodes, but it started as just a kid show. And then it grew into more of a family show by the UK standards, because let's face it, a lot of what we've seen on the screens isn't exactly family friendly. Not by US standards anyway. But yeah, it's like I do appreciate the fact that it's like they do allow for the imagination. If they're, and I mean, it leads to all kinds of fan theories, all kinds of what some people refer to as a head canon. Like, you know, it's like, you know, the canonical truth in that person's own head. And I mean, I definitely have my own as far as like certain theories go, which I can't hit on because that would spoil things that for episodes you haven't seen.
Oh well. Yeah, I like, I really like theories, like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. Because if it is one thing and you really hate that theory, then like it kind of spoils it. But I don't know. At the same time, I really want to know.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other favorite parts of this episode?
Well, it's kind of, well, it's in the same part. I just love how Clara is. Clara.
I did the same thing at first. Don't worry.
That Clara is what he was, what his nightmare was like. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but I was so shocked and stuff. I was like, what?
Yes.
I never even thought that. Well, anyways, I don't know. I was
just at the moment you see her grab his leg.
Yeah.
You're just like, what?
Yeah. And
no.
You just see her emotion, like. Oh shit. Like,
yes.
Oh my goodness, it was so good. I loved it. And I think that anyone who doesn't like it is foolish.
You heard it here. Send your hate mail to Corrie@gmail. Screw yourself.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, I love you all. Do you have any other favorite parts, or is that it for your list?
Those are my top favorite, yeah.
Very good. Now, if you all have any other favorite parts of this episode that you want to voice, leave them down in the comments down below. But, as always, it is time to move on to my annoyances, well, our annoyances with this episode. And I wrote down a few. And, actually, you start this time, since I started with the favorites.
I don't know if I, like, really didn't like this part, but it did kind of... Anyways, when the Doctor started, when he was talking to himself, like, it made sense because he said, like, have you ever talked to yourself? And he was talking to himself. But then again, I don't like how he, broke the fourth wall? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked that he broke the fourth wall. It just, I don't know. It might have made me uncomfortable. I don't know. There's something about it I did not care for it, but I liked how he was, talking to himself, and he was saying, "How are you ever talk to yourself?" And yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
And I can definitely say that there have been times where the Doctor has sort of done situations like that. That was definitely the first time it ever happened, like right at the beginning of the episode. As far as I can remember, remind me if I'm wrong on that, everyone. But I feel like the one way in which it works for me, even though it was definitely a bit fourth wall breaking, it was just sort of the idea that, you know, even though he was talking to himself, he was talking to whatever might be there.
That's true.
So it's to sort of set the theme for, is like, you know,
Yeah.
you're not talking to yourself, you're talking to what's there.
Yeah, yeah. I think like I like the connection that you had with it because he was talking to you, and you're like, yeah, I have talked to myself. But I don't know. I just in movies, I generally don't like it if they like look at the camera and say, hey.
You're right. And that's the first thing he does at the beginning of the episode. Is just like, eyes closed, listen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. And I like the what you said about maybe he's talking to whatever's in the room, but I don't know. If I were the director, I probably would have done something different, but I'm not a genius on directing, so.
Like maybe even had like Clara be in there when he's giving this big explanation.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just talking to himself and he's like, I'm talking to myself. Am I talking to somebody? Yeah.
The Doctor definitely has a few screws loose, so.
No shame.
Yes, exactly. All right, it's time for an annoyance of mine. And it's, I would say, this is actually something that Jill brought up too, and I can't decide whether it's a full-on annoyance or just a nitpick. But it's that the creepiness factor, like we started out the episode, it was really creepy, starting with the Doctor's monologue and leading into like, you know, all these really weird moments, like, you know, the bed sinks down when Clara and the little boy are under there. It's just, it's really good and creepy.
Yeah.
But then near the end of the episode, it just kind of, it disappears. It comes back a little bit when they're on the ship and there's the banging, but overall it just kind of, it lost that creepiness.
Yeah. I think during the middle when we didn't know that Clara was his nightmare, it should have been creepier, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like after we know that Clara is the nightmare, that like it's not really creepy at all. You're like, oh, whatever, it's fine. I would still like it to be somewhat creepy. Like, I don't know, because it just seems like you've answered it. There is nothing in the dark. But, I don't know. I think that if the creepiness remained, I would have liked it, I don't know, a bit more. I think that's an annoyance, too.
Yeah. And actually, and I'm trying to remember, maybe I didn't write this down. Oh no, wait, that has to do with my theory I'm going to bring up later. So, never mind. Alright, do you have any other annoyances?
Yes.
We have family upstairs.
Yes. And, oh yeah, I don't know about the whole Danny, that was his name, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Danny and Clara fighting. I don't know. I think it was just a bit too much. Like the first one, I can understand. Maybe the second one, but like after that, it was just kind of like, all right, either stop the date or keep on going. You know, it was just that annoyed me. Like maybe one time fighting, maybe 2 times, but I don't know. It just for me like. When really good movies or shows are happening, but then there's like a little romantic thing on the side, that just kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah.
And that I like how there was a connection to the Danny when he was little, and like she knew him and stuff and whatever, but I didn't like the romance.
Yeah, the romance is still, and it's like I've seen a few episodes where they've kind of had like, you know, the little sparks fly or whatever. And this actually, this is jumping forward, at least on my list, to the, well, that happened. I'm probably just not even going to put captions here. You can just enjoy as we talk. But it's like the date scenes, for me, it's like, they annoyed me a little bit, but at the same time, and I think I actually mentioned this to you earlier today before we were recording, but although the scenes, it's like they felt a bit forced or even contrived at times, I've been on some really awkward dates. And maybe that's just because I'm a nerd and I've dated some bad people. But, I mean, they're maybe not to the extreme of, like, their arguments, but it's like, you know, there's been that horrible awkwardness that it's like made those scenes kind of feel real to me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, in that way, I guess in my mind it kind of overdoes the annoyance with it, just because I can kind of sort of relate.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's good to have the audience connected to it, but, I think I would rather have, like, if there was a romantic interest or whatever, I would rather not really know the character, like, Danny, like, he just became a really big part of the episode, and I don't think he should have been that big. Like, maybe when he was small, that was fine, but, I don't know, I wasn't huge. Yeah. And I think that, never mind.
No, I get what you're saying, and I feel like because he was introduced in one episode previously, one that you haven't seen.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like we didn't really get to know a lot about him except for the fact that he was a soldier and he has a past where apparently it seems like he killed an innocent, most likely accidentally. It's not explained, but like he has a past in that way. So I have a feeling that he's going to become like a bigger part of this series or this season as it goes along. But yeah, as it stands, I still just kind of overall feel neutral on Danny. It's like, you know, I don't. It's kind of like with the romance scenes. It's like, you know, I don't dislike him, but at the same time, he seemed the most interesting as a kid.
Oh yeah, as a kid, yeah, but I don't know.
Okay, so I have one more annoyance with this episode, and it's just one that I'll touch on really briefly. But it's that in this episode it felt like, and I guess it kind of goes along with how the creepiness was abandoned, but, and even like it's sort of an annoyance you brought up earlier, but the fact that things were left unresolved. Like, you know, there were so many ambiguous answers, which kind of counteracts the fact that it was one of my favorites, you know, those ambiguous answers. At the same time, it's like, you know, it felt like everything was left unanswered.
Yeah, that was
except for the doctor's nightmare. Like, that was the one thing that was answered.
Yeah, that was the one thing. And it was pretty big, but I would have... Oh, yeah, I didn't write that down. I wrote that down for the questions, but I want to know what the doctor saw. Like, when he opened the door or something.
That's actually something I'm going to hit on in my theory, which I won't go into full detail on, because otherwise it'll spoil an older episode for you. Okay. But, yeah.
But I mean, if they do go back on it in future episodes, then yeah, that's fine. I love it. But if they never talk about it again, that's gonna annoy me a lot.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it seems like one of those that they might not. It's hard to say.
Yeah. If I don't understand. Oh well, no, that's another one. Let's put that up.
Yes. But those are our annoyances with the episode, and judging from the comments in the reaction video, I'm sure all of you have some of your own grievances and annoyances to voice. So please do leave those down in the comments down below. And I already touched on, you know, my that happened, which was the date scenes, which was one of Corrie's annoyances, or really just like the relationship and Danny in general. But so that covers those aspects. So, you know, whether it's positive or negative, leave them down below. But, you know, as I've been saying these last few episodes, if all you have to say is something negative, just remember to say something nice. Apparently there's this thing coming up that apparently me saying say something nice is going to have some weird effect. Like, I can only assume some character says it in a negative way in a future episode. So it's like it makes the viewers and commenters giggle when I say that. I don't know. I'll find out. All right, now we will get into your questions in just a second. First, I want to present my theory for this episode, which was your question of what was it that was outside of the ship, if anything. And again, without going into too much detail, during David Tennant's era, the 10th Doctor, there's an episode called Midnight, where he goes to this planet that is made entirely of diamond, and there's this entity that we never see, but it's like, it does similar things. It knocks on the ship. And it does other things after that that don't occur in this episode. But like as soon as they went to the end of time, like whatever year they say like 2 billion or something like that. I can't remember. But basically, it's like when we saw that landscape, I was thinking, oh my God, they're on Midnight. They're on that planet Midnight because it looked like it to me. And then when it's like all we see is inside the ship and there's that knocking, I was just thinking, oh my God, it's whatever that was, because we never see it in that episode either. It's like the characters supposedly see something, like they think they see a shadow or something, but like we never see it, and we never see whatever it is, if anything, in this episode. So it's just, in my mind, it's like, my theory is, it's like, it's either one of the same creatures as that, or sort of a similar species to whatever the creature was in the episode Midnight, which is a really good one that you should watch.
Yes.
Go through, which, if you start going through the show in general, you will watch it.
Yeah, no, I like that, especially if it's like connected like that. I like shows where there's a connection, like with past seasons and stuff. If it's just another random planet, then but
Right.
I think it'd be really cool.
It's like that's my own headcanon, at least. It's like, it's like one of the same creatures. My theory.
Yeah.
So let me know what you all think of that theory, whether you think it's complete crap or if you agree. Now, moving on, before we end this episode, Corrie has at least a few other questions, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Well, your theory, what did the doctor see? That was my number one question.
Yes.
Oh yeah, why didn't she want to tell the doctor that she was the nightmare? Clara. I don't understand, because I understand that, like, the whole thing, the fear makes you stronger. I understand that, like, you would want that just for, I don't know, just for the future. If you're really scared, be like, yeah, it makes me stronger or whatever. But I don't know. I would want to tell him.
I think it was more that because he's not supposed to, like, sort of go back and interfere with his own timeline.
Oh.
So I think it wasn't so much that she wasn't wanting to tell him that she was the nightmare. It's that she didn't want him to know where they were. Because unless I'm mistaken, he didn't step out of the TARDIS while they were there. So yeah, it's like she didn't want him to know where they were, because like if he knew that, like, he might accidentally say or do something that could have some catastrophic, like, reality splitting events, a paradox, shall we say. So yeah, that's what I think is the most likely reason.
Okay. And when I was rereading the thing to spark up my memory, did she say not to tell her what he saw outside, or like, why didn't he say, oh guys, this is what I saw? Like,
I don't know. I actually don't remember that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I can't remember if he didn't remember if he saw anything or what. That is a good question. So if any of you know that, because some of you all are just amazing and can remember about everything, if for some reason, if you all can tell us why the doctor didn't say what he saw, well, let us know what that is. If there's a reason at all. I mean, it could just be something that was just kind of washed over or whatever, or looked over, whatever. But yeah, I honestly don't know that one.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Thank you.
Do you have any others?
Nope.
All right. Well, and then at the end of each episode, I always say what my overall thoughts were. And for me, in ways, I really liked this episode. I liked the initial mystery. I liked how mind-blowing it was. But at the same time, it felt really disjointed in a lot of ways.
I can understand that.
So
You know, usually, if I'm not mistaken, isn't there like a bad guy in all of the episodes that he has sex with?
Not always. Sometimes
Okay.
there is, or it's like there's a prevailing entity of some sort.
Okay. Because I know in shows that I watch, like Supernatural, there's always something that has to be defeated or has to be resolved, and I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this is more of like almost an experimental episode or an experimental storyline, because like most of them do have like there's a bad guy that needs to be defeated, or like something's happening to the person that we think is the bad guy, but really it's a good person, they're just misunderstood, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's maybe that was just a sort of a weaker aspect of it too. It didn't have a focal point. Like even the focal point they were trying to find was ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are before that so I feel like I like it, but it's disjointed, so it's kind of like in the middle range for me. Like I would definitely watch this episode again.
Oh yeah.
If only to try and make it a little bit clearer for me.
I think like it was going in the right direction. It was amazing planning, but the end just.
Yeah. And even some of the date scenes kind of derailed it a little bit, even though they were vital to the plot. It was weird. Yeah. So your overall thoughts is like, how did you feel about it?
I loved it. I loved the creepiness. I loved the oh, surprise, it's not what you thought, it's actually Clara. Yeah, I really liked that. But yeah, some things, yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah?
There we go. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this special review of Listen on Discovering Doctor Who, and thank you, Corrie, very much for joining me for this episode.
Thank you for letting me.
Not a problem. Hopefully in the future, Corrie will be able to join me for, if not Doctor Who, then other shows as well, because there will be other shows coming up. And yeah, coming next, I already forgot the name of the next episode. It is, next time I will see you all for Time Heist, which I haven't really heard anything about even in the comments, so that could be a good thing or that could be a bad thing. It's hard to say. But once again, everyone, thank you very much for joining me for 90 episodes, well, 90 plus if you include the specials and stuff. But thank you very much. And everyone, I'll see you next time on the next Discovering Doctor Who. Until then, Alonzi!
Asparagus!
Asparagus.
I forgot it. It was something with an A.
Well, that's not.
Wait, what is it?
Alonzi.
Alonzi. Okay, let's try it again.
I'm so using that first cut as a blooper at the very end.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for episode 90 of Discovering Doctor Who. We'll see you all next time for Time Heist. And until then, Alonzi!